everyone.
Hey there guys, Unofficial MCU here. Hope you're all doing well, and in this video we're going to be talking about how Kang will really be different from Thanos. Of course, we're going to go ahead and we're going to hop right on into it. In this video, we're going to be taking a read from the direct article. I'll have their article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there as well. As I read, Avengers the Kang Dynasty will have MCU fans asking one major question. How will Kang be different to the franchise than Thanos as he faces the Avengers? Now, that question has kind of been answered. Kang is on his way towards becoming the most powerful villain in the MCU's long history, following his true introduction in the MCU's in the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. But with great villains comes great responsibility to the grand Marvel Studios narrative, and Kang already has some massive shoes to fill in with Avengers 5 after Josh Brolin's masterful performance as the Mad Titan and Thanos in the Infinity Saga. Jonathan Majors hasn't been able to say that much about how Kang compares to Thanos, although he called it a whole different world, and teased that his assignment is different when looking at his upcoming work later in the multiverse saga. Now, one important creative from both Ant-Man 3 and Avengers 5 took his own stab at this mystery, explaining the differences he sees in these two A-list antagonists. Recently speaking with Games Radar, Avengers the Kang Dynasty writer Jeff Loveness addressed how Jonathan Majors' Kang the Conqueror will live up to the villainous standard set up in the MCU by Josh Brolin's Thanos. The main difference to Loveness is Kang's humanity, with Thanos simply being a big purple CGI guy from space, and the writer intends to make that difference clear by leaning into the fact that Kang is really just human above anything, saying that in full quote from Jeff Loveness, the writer of both Ant-Man 3 and Avengers the Kang Dynasty, "To me, it's all about the humanity. Obviously, Thanos is a great, iconic villain, but he's also a big purple CGI guy. He's an alien from outer space. The thing I really wanted to lean into is that Kang is a human being," ending that quote right there. And this really is such an important thing to note here going forward with the MCU here, with what the future of the MCU has to hold here as well, especially as we move into like bigger and bigger Avenger kind of level threats here, simply to put it that way, as Mysterio did. Kang at the core, at the bottom, is simply a human that has a lot of technology, a lot like Iron Man in a way. Kang was also described as a very lonely character, probably like you and I watching this, as Loveness teased that fans will see the humanity and even the vulnerability in him before he becomes the next Avengers level threat, saying that in full quote, "Kang's also a very lonely character. We're going to be seeing a lot of him in a lot of different ways going forward, but I really wanted to introduce the humanity and even the vulnerability of his character before we get such a apocalyptic Avenger scale heights," ending that quote right there. Jeff Loveness then moved back to the Thanos comparison, hyping him up that Kang is almost this infinite Thanos essentially, and teasing that this new villain could be compared to the Mad Titan on an exponential level, simply saying that in full quote, "Kang is a top tier, A-list Avengers villain. What do you do when you feel you're not enough against that? How do you step up to face the challenges of this generation? Who is Thanos on an exponential level? He's almost this infinite Thanos. I think we're setting things up for a pretty dynamic story." Also ending that quote right there, wow, just kind of like this overall tease here, saying that like Kang is, take Thanos for example, and put him in just like an infinite amount, an exponential amount simply. And that is very true. We're going to be dealing with a lot of different variants essentially of Kang. There's going to be multiples of him, different ones that act different, respond different, have different desires even. Although, as we all know, that the real Kang really wants the desire of just complete power over the timeline, hence this being a complete and utter like multiversal war essentially. That being said, how will Avengers 5 the Kang Dynasty put Kang on a new level? Looking at those quotes from Jeff Loveness, Jonathan Majors' Kang certainly has plenty of character details working in his favor as the next major antagonist in the MCU. Even though Thanos' size and alien nature worked well at the end of the Infinity Saga, he was the exception to the trend of MCU villains being most terrifying when they're more human and relatable, such as Eric Killmonger's and Baron Zemo in the universe. Kang will now get to use his own humanity to to take what Thanos did and bring something different and potentially even bigger, especially considering his powers are far more than what's being seen than just his suit and technology. And on top of that, the humanity is in fact that Kang can exist as an infinite number of variants of himself, having the ability to come into any point in history across from time and both space. Ant-Man 3's variant will already be the second one to be played after He Who Remains that we saw in Season 1 of Loki on Disney+, and that will only be the start of what Kang is really truly capable of at that. As his story develops beyond the next Ant-Man movie and into Phase 5's duo of the next Avenger films with the Kang Dynasty and the Secret Wars as well, fans are hoping that Marvel doesn't hold back on potential variants of Jonathan Majors' villain going into reign over the multiversal tear. From there, that is where the article concludes, and as I had mentioned at the beginning of this video, I have this full article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there as well. Now, we discussed this in a previous video recently, very recently here on the channel, actually, kind of debating whether or not if Kang is really human and what his powers are really overall here. And essentially what we summed up from that, and I think this just kind of acts as a further confirmation, is the fact that this is just a normal dude. He's just a human like you and I, with a lot of technology and those kind of powers, a lot like Iron Man. And of course, don't get me wrong, of course we were able to feel for Thanos in a humanizing way, of course. I think that's really just human nature, is what that sort of is of course, yeah, he's kind of just an alien, a purple alien from space, but his whole backstory of what happened to his own homeworld, his own home planet, and kind of his motives behind that, I think kind of is what humanizes Thanos, comparably to him just being like a killing robot like we see with Ultron. Of course, I am beyond excited to see Kang in the Ant-Man 3 Quantumania movie, and also going forward in the rest of the MCU. I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. What are you looking forward to seeing most with Ant-Man 3 Quantumania, and also Kang as an overall character moving forward, and going like really deeply into the multiversal saga here as well? We've really only scratched the surface of what like this whole kind of saga overall really holds here, especially when comparing it to the Infinity Saga previously before. Of course, this has been Unofficial MCU. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one, guys. Peace out.